So what was the first? So the first series, after the CW series,
One Division
was WandaVision. Yeah. So let's talk about the CW series first. So most of them have ended apart from the Flash, which is sort of zombifiedly going on.
Actually, The Flash is done after 13 episodes in season 9. They've already announced that.
Yeah. But it does have CW does have one magic trick up its sleeve, which is
You better say Superman and Lois.
Superman and Lois is great, but also it has Stargirl in it, which I've been promoting for the ages, and is, along with the boys, the best superhero show on the television.
I honestly haven't watched CW in years.
Yeah, as I said,
it was too many shows to keep up with, and I couldn't keep up with everyone. Yeah. And if you didn't keep up with everyone, you didn't get what was going on with the others.
But as I said, like Superman and Lois is great, and Stargirl is great. So those are fine. And again, I think what they show is that good quality will always rise to the top, no matter what sort of genre it is. But let's talk about the bad stuff. Let's talk about Marvel's television exploits. Starting with WandaVision. Now, WandaVision, everybody says is the best one. I disagree, but everyone says it's the best one.
No one. Everyone says that. I think it was enjoyable, but
yeah, no,
I do hear that a lot. Not entirely sure if I agree with it, but it might have been. It's up there.
Most people say Loki's the best one, in my opinion, from what I've been hearing.
Yeah. That's the other one that's up there. Either Loki or WandaVision, one of the two.
So what was your opinion of WandaVision? So let's go, Zam. What was your opinion?
I thought it was almost perfection, except for the final episode, which became a very traditional Marvel-esque sort of wham bam thank you ma'am. Don't get me wrong, there is always going to be a place for that in Marvel, but this show was being very psychological, and I wish it kind of stuck to that to a degree. And it also felt kind of rushed near the end as well, the wrapping things up. But I do know that COVID, when it came on the scene, it did have a massive effect with WandaVision, because it was supposed to be 10 episodes and ended up only being 9. And I do feel like that affected some of the outcome of how the show was supposed to be. Still a great show, but once again, I think it was good because we were continuing off with a character that we already knew in Wanda and her grief, and she was all alone. You know, she had nobody. She had to recreate her lover and recreate it. I mean, it was great. And then from that alone, that show alone made Wanda the character she ended up being in Doctor Strange. We understood that, by watching WandaVision, that she was going to end up going off the fucking edge of a cliff and being a crazy woman. But yeah, it's regardless of a bad episode or unsatisfactory. No, I don't want to say the final episode was bad. It was unsatisfactory. That's what I want to use. Regardless of that, still a great show. It made me look forward to all the other stuff that was going to come up after that.
Okay, Jake, what did you think of WandaVision?
I mean, I really kind of echo a lot of what Zam had to say about it. I'd have to say that it wasn't just the last episode, but the last couple of episodes. I was really hurt by the twist on Quicksilver. I really thought that they had set that up to be a multiverse twist, and then they changed it last minute because they weren't ready to do multiverse yet, because Multiverse of Madness got postponed. And WandaVision wasn't supposed to come out first either. It was supposed to start with Falcon and the Winter Soldier and then kind of build into more multiversal shows. And so I really think that they kind of just backtrack on it, and turning into a boner joke, just it sucked. Like, I didn't mind the fact that Mephisto wasn't in there. I wasn't one of the Mephisto kiddos.
Yeah, me too.
In there. But I just think that Quicksilver was a bad... They did bad there. So that kind of killed the show. Otherwise, I loved it. I grew up watching a lot of those sitcoms they were making fun of. The first 2 episodes of that are some of my favorite episodes of anything Marvel's done. I don't think this is the best series, though, but it's really good. And I thought it was really well done until it gets a little sky beamy at the end.
Gio, what do you think?
I am probably on the opposite spectrum. I thought that the earlier episodes were completely boring, and it's not because of lack of action. I wasn't. I felt like the first 2 or 3 episodes could have been done in an episode. Like the first commercial break could have been the first show, and then the second commercial break could have been the second show, or just make it a longer first episode than the rest of it. I didn't mind the end because honestly, I didn't feel like it was super wham bam thank you ma'am as ever. If you go back and watch it, like in hindsight, it's like I didn't think it was that big. I mean, there was some wham bam thank you ma'am, but it's like it wasn't a lot. Like it was, I mean, because you even had the psychological end to with the visions. And honestly, if they I'll get you 1 second, Jake. And if I had two visions going face to face and they didn't at least fight a little bit and use their like phasing technology and stuff like that to each other, I'd have been pissed. I would have been pissed. And honestly, they, I just was truly gutted for Bossman that Haywood did not turn out to be Apocalypse. I was really I was. That's where that whole thing started.
It started there, yeah.
It started right there. And so I had to get that one in there. I had to get that one in there because it was the original Apocalypse joke. Okay. So anyway, but I liked it. The middle episodes were okay. I do agree with Rev about the Quicksilver stuff. I honestly though don't think that it was because they backtracked any. I honestly feel like that's how they originally intended it, and I feel like we all had a better idea, like that it was supposed to be a multiverse thing, and they just backed off on it. No, I think it was originally supposed to be that way, and they just they should have just hired us from the get go to fix this shit. So anyway, go ahead, Rev.
I just wanted to rebuttal on what you'd said there. I mean, the things with the 2 visions is probably one of the best things in the entire show. The whole ship of Theseus scene. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, I want to remind you that out of absolutely nowhere, the director of Sword decided to shoot little kids.
Yeah.
Throw that back out there.
I agree with you. That part, that's that was very bad. We even said during our reviews back then. I mean, I don't think you were with us back then, but like
that was right before I joined you guys. Yeah,
we were like, yeah, that sucks. Like that's not even like we were all flabbergasted as to why they would even go that route with him. And I mean, we knew he was a dick, but we didn't know he was like that.
We have to make him we have to arrest him for some reason.
Yeah,
and the funny thing is, those kids never existed. So if they did the bullets did hit them, what the fuck would have happened to them? You know what I mean? Because they don't exist.
Yeah. All right. So after that, it was one.
Sorry, Gary. One more thing. This show also began the speculation theory shit, which came from this show because with Mephisto being on the card, and that obviously didn't happen. But so many people, like for instance, in one episode, what's his name? The guy from Ant-Man.
Michael Douglas?
No,
it was the FBI
Randall Park's character.
It's
Jimmy. The FBI.
Is it Jimmy Woo?
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, and like he's, I think it was Jimmy Woo or one of the other characters, maybe Darcy. She said that they have a friend, and then everyone was speculating that friend was going to be Reed fucking Richards. I mean, like the speculations from this show that came and continued with the future shows was, it just like, yeah.
I'm sorry. I think, and again, in hindsight, from it being so far away, I think people were just that desperate to get the MCU rolling again. Like that was the first show post vaccination. Like, so I'm pretty sure that was like I'm pretty sure that was just MCU fans being desperate for anything big. They're like, anything big. We want Mephisto. We want Reed Richards. We want like, like they weren't willing to kind of wait and be like.
Reed Richards one was ridiculous, man.
It was very ridiculous.
It was ridiculous.
So the next one was Falcon and Winter Soldier. Now, I thought there was lots of good stuff in this. Like for example, the first couple of episodes, and I would say episode 4 were really great. I actually preferred a lot of these episodes better than WandaVision, Loki, or any other series because we delved into how Bucky's dealing with the fact that he was a Winter Soldier and he was a programmed assassin for what decades? We
The
don't know how
fucking
many.
Nazis, mate. Hydra.
For Hydra. Yeah. But also we get the fact that again, if this offends people, sorry, but the fact that we deal with the fact that Captain America is now a black man, and we have the fact that Isaiah, what's his face? What was his last name?
Isaiah Bradley.
Yeah. Isaiah Bradley. He was sort of like the black Captain America, and he doesn't have the prestige or the knowledge, charity, or the herodom that Chris Evans once got, and Steve Rogers got, and it's just like, yeah, look how like that and I wish the series was more about that, more about how somebody who is black, sort of like deals with the fact they're in a country that kind of treats them as other still, even in 2022, still feels that way. And I'd rather be about that than the Flag Smashers, who were terrible and boring. But there was one good stunt to go about the Flag Smashers, which was what's his name, Kurt Russell's son, and the whole his transformation.
Wyatt Russell playing John Walker.
Yeah. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. I thought, again, I know Baron Zemo was in it, but I thought he was the best villain out of the entire.
He's my favorite villain.
Yeah, because he was complex. I actually understood where he come from. That he's this insecure, anger-filled former athlete, who's put into this position, which he didn't earn, because Steve Rogers earned it. This guy didn't earn it, and that's the difference. And I thought that's what made it good. So because I went to Zam last time, I'll go to Jake. How do you feel about this series?
I did in general like it overall. I just want to kind of piggyback on what you're saying at the end there. And I think that John Walker felt like he did deserve it and earn it. Going through and making that football star status was, to a degree, a lot of effort in practices and whatnot. Going on the missions and being a soldier and getting into that Black Ops stuff that he had been part of was a lot of effort. And to him, he felt like he deserved it more than Captain America because of that. And I think it's a true sadness of his character that he can't understand that earning it was more about who you are than what you've done. And so I thought that was a really interesting dynamic. Being someone in America who's, had friends who were affected by, the race riots a couple years ago, by being, plenty of friends who are of foreign national or ethnic background who have gone through stuff. I was really glad that they were tackling a lot of the things about America's darker past, especially when it came to Isaiah Bradley, because America has a history of doing that kind of stuff to people. And so I think it's a really good that they tackle that and talk about it. And I love that this series, really the underlying tone was male mental health and some of the things that men have to deal with, whether it be, and they use Bucky as an assassin, but it's about mistakes in your past and having to live with them, and how do you move past them? Maybe it's things that you didn't mean to do, and they're you obviously taking it a step further and using mind control, but the reality of the story is that's what it's about, and how do I deal with that? And you see a lot of that too with Sam and fixing the boat, and how do I be there for my family but still move off and be my own person. And again, I think these are just some really good male mental health issues to kind of bring to the front of the table. And so I really liked how they did that while wrapping it up in a spy espionage, which is something that is very stereotypical male. And so I thought it was really great down-to-earth series. So sadly, it lacked some of the fantastical that I think I love out of Marvel. And so it didn't end up being that much of my favorite. But at the same time, it was a really good series, and I would definitely watch it again.
Gio?
This is my favorite Disney Plus show, hands down. I love John Walker. I know I don't consider him a villain. I consider him a protagonist, but I don't consider him a villain. And yeah, I know he killed somebody, but at the same time, I mean, Captain America killed people, so back in World War II, and they were at war. Well, they're at war with the Flag Smashers too. It's hairy, but I still I'm like, all right, whatever, but I still don't consider him like a hero either. He's definitely perfect for that Thunderbolts Suicide Squad type team. I mean, the Punisher kills people all the time, I mean, like, he probably would have killed the Flag Smashers too if he had a chance. So that's where I kind of put him in that category. I wouldn't consider him a villain, but he was amazing. Wyatt Russell was so good. He was the Chris Jericho of the MCU. Everybody hated him, but honestly, I felt like people were threatening Wyatt Russell about it. Like, they're just like, "How dare you be like, guys? It's a character. Like, chill out. He's doing a fantastic job." And so
he's supposed to be a dick.
Yeah, like, well, everyone thought he was literally replacing, and I get it. People don't read the comic books; they don't know who U.S. Agent is. But it's just like, still, like, wait till the end of the series. Like, if they were actually replacing Captain America with John Walker, I probably would have had an issue. But still, it's like, guys, like, wait till the end of the story to figure it out. I mean, Bucky, I loved Bucky in this series. I think it's Zam who always says is that Bucky was able to be James Buchanan Barnes in this show. He wasn't the Winter Soldier. Or no, I'm sorry. You say he was Bucky. He wasn't the Winter Soldier. He got redeemed. Yeah. We got to see him as a person outside of all these fantastical big combat, like, Infinity War and Civil War and all these other things going on. So and then Sam's journey was honestly, for me, a lot. I thought it was handled very well. Isaiah Bradley being brought in and bringing in the racial issues there, I thought it was very well handled. I didn't feel like it was hand-fisted at all, because let's be real, like, back in the 50s or the 60s, whenever he was around, if there was a black Captain America, they so would have thrown him under the bus. Let's be real. I mean, that's just the way it was, and it's not right by any means, but I'm just saying, like, that's how it would have happened. So it's good that they address those issues for us as a country to look back and reflect. I mean, like, and we all know Captain America transcends America. Zam says it himself. Captain America is his favorite Avenger or character of the MCU.
He's definitely up there, because the person, Steve Rogers, is Superman. What I mean? Steve Rogers, I mean, I can't really say for his successors, but Steve Rogers is Clark Kent. He's Superman. He's the embodiment of wholesomeness and goodness. You know what I mean? So
I mean, and I think that them putting Sam Wilson in that position is best. Was his outfit in the final episode a little bit much? I believe so. I mean, they had to CGI, like, the little things on his side, because they came out and I'm like, guys, you're really trying really hard. Like, I didn't. The last episode was, and this is the one that actually I thought was a little more wham bam thank you ma'am that kind of needed to be. Like, you guys say WandaVision, I actually say this episode was a little bit more wham bam thank you ma'am. Honestly, episode 5 felt very final episode-y. For the scale of this series, like Rev Jake said, it's more like a spy, like, what would you say, a spy thriller or espionage? Like, that's what, like, at that fight at the beginning of episode 5, I go back and watch that from time to time between Bucky and Sam versus Walker, like, because it's just like it's such a good fight scene between the three of them, and it's like you have two super soldiers, but then you got Sam Wilson here trying to hold his own. But that's the thing, is that Sam Wilson was proving in that fight that he's that captain. He's that Steve Rogers. He's the one that in that fight he kept getting up and says, I can do this all day, but he did it in his way. It's not like he got up and literally said, I can do this all day. You know what I mean? Like, he stood against he stood toe to toe with two super soldiers, not going against them, but like, they were going back and forth, and it could have just been Walker knocks Sam out, and then Bucky just has to deal with it. But no, Sam was in there dealing with it, even though he knew he was outgunned and outclassed in that fight. So, this show was definitely one of my favorites. I go back and watch it every now and then because I just think it is a great character transition. I'm so glad they did this way before they went to the Captain America New World Order movie, just because I felt like we needed the time with Sam and Bucky, to kind of do that and everything. Having Baron Zemo back was great, but yeah, I agree with I think Rev, you said that having John Walker in there was as a protagonist rather than Zemo was a much better choice. But it was great to have Zemo.
Antagonist, you mean?
Or antagonist, I'm sorry. Yeah, antagonist. I'm sorry.
So Sam, what did you think?
All right, just to correct on Cheeto one thing, like you mentioned the fact that people were complaining about John Walker being the new Captain America. The whole point of this show was Sam Wilson was going to be the new Captain America. So people didn't figure that out, and they thought John Walker was going to be. They are without doubt the biggest fucking idiots on the fucking planet.
And that's my point is that nobody was seriously like everybody. No, there were people who don't watch or don't know comic books who were coming like, how can is this guy really the new Captain America? They literally came to me at work and they're like, is this guy the new Captain America? And I'm like, yes, he is. I totally trolled him. I didn't care.
Yeah, Sam Wilson was like given the fucking mantle. We saw him in Endgame being given the shield. This is also looking back at everything that's been done by Marvel on the series front. This is also my favorite. I mean, the opening episode 1, it felt like the beginning of a Bond movie. That action scene with Falcon going up against Batroc, the fucking Leaper, who was also in this as well. Yeah. You know what I mean? Was absolutely fantastic. Like the way he was flying around and like dodging the missiles and making them hit other targets and saving that guy as well. And then we even saw like almost like I think in the penultimate episode we saw almost like a handoff to was it Lieutenant Reyes? That was his name?
Yeah.
Yeah, like who would be the new Falcon as well, but he gave him his wings and stuff. The Wakandans were in this as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I totally blinked on that. Yeah.
Like there was so much crossover and so much going.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and also we got some closure between Bucky and Zemo. I forgot about to mention that too.
Yeah. I mean, the character Zemo is always been my favorite villain. He in his film of Captain America: Civil War, he was the bad guy that won before Thanos won because his goal was to break up the Avengers, and he achieved that. He broke up the Avengers, and so I very much appreciate that. He's a calculated villain. I like the fact that he's not a villain that is in it for money. I like the fact that this whole show wasn't an end of the world sort of bollocks as well. I love the redemption. I love the. Is redemption the right word? But I love seeing finally James Buchanan Barnes being Bucky Barnes and no longer the Winter Soldier anymore. He's not that man anymore. You know what I mean? And I really love that because he deserved it. I love the fact that Sam and Bucky, who had a mutual friend in Steve, ended up being best friends and best buds themselves.
I mean, in Civil War, they said they hated each other.
Yeah, they did. They had the mutual friend, and then eventually they both became friends, which I very much appreciated as well. Karen Carter, you know what I mean?
Sharon Carter.
Sorry, I apologize. Sharon Carter going all heel on us as well, which in fact, she was a better undercover villain than the bloody Flag. The Flag Smashers was unfortunately the worst part of this whole thing, but the action scenes were top notch. The sort of like Lethal Weapon sort of thingy, where in a way like they're amalgamation of both characters in different ways. There is a bit of Riggs in Bucky Barnes, but there's also a bit of Murtaugh in him as well. And vice versa. It just everything about this show was fantastic. John Walker as well, bringing him into the scene. And him taking the serum and being a proper super soldier as well. Just it's endless. It's just honestly, there's so much came from this show. People don't realize what this show offered. It gave us a smorgasbord of different directions, different characters, new ones, old ones, returning ones. It was absolutely fantastic, and it really made me look forward to where we're going to go with this. And finally, Sam Wilson not just being given the mantle, but being Captain America. Like you really wanted to see that, and everything. I do feel the final episode was a little bit lackluster to a degree. Could have been a bit better, but nevertheless, the journey was fantastic. I really appreciated it. I felt we were going in, like these characters were going further. Like it didn't just end after Endgame. There was more to come. This, without doubt, I think this is a very underrated show. Doesn't get the love it deserves. It is without doubt my favorite of the MCU television shows as well. and I cannot wait for New World Order. I really can't. And I want to see more from all these other characters. I want to know what's happened with John Walker. I want to know what's happened with Sharon Carter. You know, I'm pissed off they killed off Batroc.
Really, yeah, I am too. I was mad when they did that.
You know, what the fuck are you doing? You know what I mean? Yeah, he's so funny and all of that. And yeah, so yeah, bring it on. I can't wait for the next. I want more. I want more. I love Captain America, whatever he may be.
You guys heard it here first. Sam said America is #1, his favorite.
All right, so the next one was the first dabble into, well, Phil's proper dabble into the multiverse, which was Loki. Now, I was probably most looking forward to this series because you had Tom Hiddleston coming back as Loki, and I love Tom Hiddleston. But I'm going to say something that you probably don't like. I think this is not the most lackluster, but it kind of was the one that was kind of. And by the way, I don't think for me to like it that is a bit of a detective mystery show. I kind of had two people with great chemistry in it, or it was very tedious a lot of times. But I did like the last couple of episodes in it. So as I went to Jake last time, I'm going to go to Cheeto. What did you think of Loki?
Okay, so Loki for me actually was a little bit lower on the scale for me. Now, I'm not saying it was a bad show. I'm just saying that it was so I do really feel like that this show I'm trying to figure out how to put this. I really do feel like that this show did a good service to the MCU. However, just for me it was like like I didn't care that much for Loki's little romp through the multiverse or through time, whatever. I feel like the last episode was probably the best episode just because it expanded the MCU. It actually technically kickstarted the whole Kang thing going in, like the Kang stuff going forward. So I feel like the last episode was worth it. But yeah, I feel like this show was actually on the lower par for me. And I'm not saying it was bad quality. I'm not saying it was bad acting. I'm not saying that it was shitty writing. I'm just saying that it just didn't hit me where I needed, like where the first two shows hit me. So as I said, the last episode I really enjoyed. Maybe the third. I'm trying to remember all the episodes. I haven't really rewatched this one since then. But yeah, so I'm not going to waste any more time because it's a below par for me. So, Jake, I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked the series. I think I just liked the kind of weird wonkiness of time travel and how they were treating that, and getting to see the variant Lokis was a lot of fun. It was like, the first one that allowed us to really kind of step into a multiversal concept. So I enjoyed that with us. I'm really excited for season 2, and I really love this one. To me, it might be the best of the series so far. The Ghost Knight's up there too, pretty hardcore. But yeah, I had a really good time with it.
Okay. This is possibly my second favorite of the lot as well. It's funny in a way because Jake mentioned multiverse, but this is there's two types of multiverse, isn't there? There's ones that come from time travel, and there's just actual different dimensions. And these sort of multiverses, to a degree, were because of time variance, and people being different because of aspects in time changing and causing different outcomes, like an alligator Loki and whatever. So I did like that. I liked the noirness of it. It was like the set designs and everything was pretty cool. Tom Hiddleston was great. Really good to see a character like him taking front and center as well. I very much appreciated that, and the fact that it was the Loki that was from the first Avengers movie. So he wasn't somebody who was redeemed, and it was interesting following a character who was quite slimy, but eventually started changing along the way. The other variants as well, especially the female Loki variant, was a nice touch. The speculation game came into play as well because a lot of people were expecting Kang at some particular point, and because people were kind of burnt by getting Mephisto wrong, they were holding their cards close to the chest as well. Sorry, Bossman. They were holding their cards close to the chest if Kang was going to be in this, and when Kang did show up, it was very satisfying. He wasn't necessarily Kang, but the actor Jonathan Majors, obviously, is going to play Kang, was there, and that was pretty cool. And also the clock, what's her name?
Miss Minutes.
Miss Minutes, played by the lady who voices Harley Quinn. Great. I want to see more of Miss Minutes. Miss Minutes reminds me of Tweety Pie, somebody who comes across as nice and sweet, but is really evil as fuck. You know what I mean? And yeah, but my only issue with Loki is that it ended on such a massive cliffhanger. Like, the multiverse is happening now, and this theoretically should affect everything else we see, but I don't really felt that much it did. You know, like, I don't really see it. I hardly see it at all. Maybe what happened a little bit in Spider-Man No Way Home, in 2 degrees, Doctor Strange, and Multiverse of Madness, but I didn't really see too much of the effect of what they did basically affect the entire MCU. So that felt unsatisfactory, but nevertheless, great show, great acting, and I look forward to season 2.
Okay, I'll just say the last thing, which is, I know that we do the Apocalypse joke because I did say that I didn't think Apocalypse, but I think the thing is that I want, I want a villain series, because I think that what could break up the kind of fatigue that we're all feeling is maybe something where it's a proper villain, where it's either Doctor Doom or Magneto, or I'm trying to think of one they've not killed off yet, or even Kang, where it's like a series like that where it follows something else, and that's what I was expecting. You know, despite the Apocalypse thing, at the end of the day, you know, that's what I wanted. I wanted a Doctor Doom series. I still want a Doctor Doom series.
Loki, to a degree, was the closest thing we got to following a villain. But unfortunately, in this day and age, when we follow villains, they end up being anti-heroes. You know, and that really what pisses me off. That's why I like films like American Psycho. We're following a guy who doesn't redeem himself. He's a despicable human being, but he's the main character of the show, and it's fascinating to watch. And we need more stuff like that. We need more stuff like that.
You beat me to it. Yeah.
Okay, so the next one is Moon Knight, I believe. Moon Knight was the...
Really?
No, What If?
No,
What If, yeah.
No, I'm just saying live action, because if we get into, like, you know, alternative universe, here all day.
I mean, What If came right after Loki, and it was basically the intro of What If basically showed the time, the sacred timeline splitting into all these different universes. So
we got Jeffrey Wright as well as the fucking Watcher, which was excellent, perfect casting again.
Yeah, I mean, if we're not going to stop here very long, I really like this show. I thought that the show was very well done, and the last episode or two was really, really good. There was only 1 or 2 that I didn't actually enjoy.
Yeah, I liked it too, and I love stuff like that. You know, I alternative things and different mashups and stuff like that. The only thing that bummed me out was that I thought we were going to get an episode where Spider-Man was going to be the Sorcerer Supreme, but he wasn't. He just wore the cloak.
Yeah, it was the zombie one,
which seems to be something he does quite often.
I would rather see Iron Man as a Sorcerer Supreme, like, you know, Tony Stark as the Sorcerer Supreme.
Well, there's apparently in Endgame there's some deleted scenes where he puts the Iron Man outfit onto Doctor Strange, and then the cloak goes on him. You know what I mean? But yeah, I would love to see Dr. Stark, Sorcerer Supreme. I want to see that for sure.
Jake?
Rev?
Yeah, I really love seeing all the different random ones they do. I like the fact that it's all throwaway, so if I don't like an episode, I don't have to worry about, well, that's part of the MCU now. Which is sometimes bothersome. Like, I hate when they kill villains, going back to the Batroc, the Leaper conversation. One thing, in comics, you almost never kill the villains. They get locked up, they escape, and you can reuse them again and have fun, different adventures with them, and they don't do that in the movies, which sucks. So, again, that's what I liked about this, is that everything's throwaway. It doesn't have to affect the main storyline that I'm, in love with. Instead, it's the side thing.
Okay, so next is Moon Knight, and
No, it's not. It's Hawkeye.
Oh yeah, sorry, I keep on forgetting about Bucky.
You need to create yourself a list, dude, so you know.
I've got the film list in front of me.
Okay.
Yes, so Hawkeye, which I thought I had because I like Jeremy Renner, I had rather high hopes for, but we kind of was ruined by a lot of like mischaracterization of Kingpin and like the fact that I didn't really care. I mean, I wanted to see more of Florence Pugh's character. She wasn't in it enough in my opinion. It was just there's little stuff that could have made it a lot better that just wasn't added into it, in my opinion. And I think this is probably the worst, in my opinion. Well, I'm going to use that one to you to go.
I didn't mind Hawkeye. I thought it was sweet at times and nice, and I liked the character of Kate Bishop. She was very endearing. In a way, the character of Clint Barton needed a show like this. I think he's been through enough tragic shit, and in a way, it was nice to have a more lighter approach. I thought it'd go down the tragic route, and I would love to see a series based on his Ronin character for sure. But nevertheless, seeing him, be a father figure and a mentor to Kate Bishop, and just being somebody who just needs to do the right thing. He can't help himself, and obviously the tragedy he was feeling to a degree with the loss of Natasha, and making sure that he'll be home for Christmas and all of that. And my only issue, unfortunately, was the Disneyfication of Kingpin. That was terrible. It's why I'm now so concerned about the future of any of the Netflix characters, as well as other Marvel characters that have been displayed prior to the MCU, like Blade. It worries me so much how they're going to be portrayed in the future. Now we saw a tad bit of Matt Murdock, but we'll see what he's like in She-Hulk when that comes out. But nevertheless, I did much appreciate the sort of seasonal vibe and the tracksuit mafia and stuff like that, and obviously the trick arrows, which we want to see plenty of, which we got kind of to a degree with this show as well. It was a nice show. It was if we don't see Clint Barton again after this, it was a good way to sign him off and hopefully into retirement. And once again, we're talking about a character that's very much appealing to MCU fans. Hawkeye. He's one of the originals. So yeah, I didn't mind the show. I didn't think it was as bad as people made it out to be, but not perfect either. Far from it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jake, what do you think?
Yeah, I liked Hawkeye. Really kind of agree with Zam. I think the main thing that they messed up was Kingpin. He just, I don't know, and I think it's probably because I'm so used to seeing him, as Vincent D'Onofrio, as him in the Daredevil series. He felt a little more comic booky. I heard a lot of people complaining about the way he looked or his clothes, and I think that was fine. That's pretty spot on with the comics, and not too far off of what they were doing in Daredevil, where it didn't bother me. But his behavior and the way he just stands there when a bunch of grenades go off or whatever, and there were all these kind of dumb things that I just didn't really like. And I didn't get into Echo's character at all, which is kind of weird for me because I normally jump all over any kind of Native American representation, go pray, any kind of thing like that. I just jump all over, but I didn't really enjoy the character and didn't really fall in love with her. And the fact that she's getting her own series before a lot of other people that I care about or the sequels that I want to see really kind of makes me go, oh, okay. So I didn't get into any of that part of it, but I loved Kate Bishop. She was hilarious. Her interactions with Cliff, how she wants to be his brand manager. I just thought that was really funny. I work in a lot of space where people talk about brands, and that's so it was comedy that hit home to my work life as well as my something outside of it. So I did enjoy that, and I thought it was okay. But yeah, I think this is probably the weakest of all of the series, in my opinion.
Before you pass it on to Cheeto, I just want to also add that I think one of the things that let it down as well was the obvious bait and switch. Like the actor Tony Dalton, who played from Better Call Saul, who played the swordsman, like everyone knew that he was not going to be the bad guy. They wanted us to make us believe he was the bad guy, and it's a trope that's been done so many times before that I knew instantly that he wasn't going to be the bad guy. And that's one of the things that let it down as well to a degree.
Joe?
Actually, yeah, I enjoyed Hawkeye a lot, mostly because I enjoyed the interactions between Kate and Clint. I agree. The swordsman thing was very. I would definitely put this middle of the road with the MCU series. As I said, I enjoyed the Christmas element of it. I enjoyed, as I said, Kate and Clint. I enjoyed Clint's wife. I don't know why I'm forgetting her name right now. But like,
lady.
yeah, no, what they had the character's name, but anyway, yeah, like I enjoyed that too. Like I enjoyed, it was definitely more down to earth, kind of like Falcon and the Winter Soldier. It did introduce the Kingpin. I understand everybody's up in arms about the Kingpin, and I was a little disappointed too, but I was more disappointed he was wearing a Hawaiian shirt. It felt out of now. It just, and I know what Rev's thinking. He's like, but yeah, but it's okay with the comic. It was out of character. If they were merging over the Netflix one, at least doing some kind of merger over, it felt out of character for him to wear a Hawaiian shirt. So it took me out of the character a little bit. Like, you really needed him to be dressed up really nice, because in the Netflix shows he was always dressed really nice, and so I felt like doing the Hawaiian shirt just for comic book sake kind of killed that for me. But he was very aggressive. Yeah, you get hit by a car and you get up. It's kind of like, okay, I know that's a Kingpin in the comics, but at the same time, it's like, really? Ugh. Echo, I didn't care much for. I didn't get behind that. I did enjoy the final part of that, though, when Clint got in the Ronin outfit and he was, picking off the members of her crew and basically made her come to terms with the fact that she can't beat him and he doesn't want to beat her. You know what I mean? Like, he doesn't want to kill her. So I really did enjoy that whole aspect of it, but I do agree with some of the people's gripes with it. One of my favorite parts of this is like when Clint walks up to the mural in New York, and he's talking to Natalie, and he not Natalie,
Natasha.
Natasha. He's talking to Nat, and he turns his hearing aid down, and he's just talking, and it's character moments like those, especially for stoic characters, kind of like Hawkeye, who doesn't really get a lot of time to have those moments, except in maybe Age of Ultron. But Clint has always been one of the better, in my opinion, one of the best characters in the MCU. I mean, even in Avengers, he started off as a pawn of Loki, like, unwillingly, of course. And then, but then in Age of Ultron, he was like this, he was really one of the heart of that movie, in my opinion. Especially when he came
to, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then, I mean, they lost an Infinity War without him. And then, and then in Endgame, I mean, he was also like the parts between him and Nat in, on the planet, the Soul Stone planet. I can't remember the name of it right now. But like, I really saw a lot of that in this show, and I really enjoyed a lot of it.
I just want to also add that, like, regarding Kingpin again, like the one episode at the beginning of the final episode, he's getting blackmailed by Kate Bishop's mom. That should be Kate Bishop's mom dead.
Yeah,
you know what I mean,
I agree.
And like, she didn't die, and then when Kate was trying to stop her from killing his mom, instead of focusing on killing his Kingpin should have instantly have killed Kate Bishop for trying to stop him. Sorry. But he just swatted away like a fly and stuff like that. And that's those are the little things that made you realize, this guy, they might want to make us think that he's from the Netflix universe. No, I refuse to believe that, because they're two different Kingpins, just happen to be played by the same actor.
Okay. Well.
Okay, so we finally got to midnight. And I'll start with, first, I really loved this series because I loved Oscar Isaac. I thought his performance, and I still stand by this, was the best out of this entire TV adventure from MCU, because he's better than Paul Bettany, he was better than Fabian, Elizabeth Olsen, he was better than all of them. He was superb and played two different people in the same body, and I thought great, I actually believe in this character. But as it went on, it got more and more unbelievable, the things they're having him do. I thought Ethan Hawke was a great villain, though I wish he was more consistent. I just was just like, the CGI was a bit ropey in it. But this was my second favourite of all the series, to be honest with you, because I loved Ethan Hawke. I loved the interaction between the wife and Oscar Isaac. I thought that was great, and I thought overall, I'm intrigued to see where they go with this character. So we're going to go to Jake. What did you think of Midnight? I see you guys your background.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a Moon Knight fan before the show came out. I'm one of the few people who knew stuff about him beforehand. So I was excited for the show, and I thought they did a lot of it justice. I was a little sad they didn't bring out the third character. But at the same time, it sounds like from some of the rumors I'm hearing, he's going to be the heavy focus of season 2, which apparently they are interested in doing eventually. So there's that. I like the guessing of it. I love the Egyptian gods of it. For the large part, I was really happy with the show. I'm sure I had some sort of complaint, but I can't think of anything offhand. It's probably my favorite of the series, but again, this all might just be because it's my existing fandom. I do realize that I look at a lot of things through rose-tinted glasses, and at the same time, I'm really easy to please. So whatever. Well, yeah, that's kind of my view on it. It was a lot of fun, and should be a good time again. Yeah.
Joe?
I would say that that this is probably my second favorite show. However, I have a hard time saying that this is the MCU. I mean, this is the only show that had not a single reference to any other MCU thing ever. I know that we're pretty sure it's in the MCU, but there is no people have gone through and said there is no crossover in this show whatsoever with the MCU. So I absolutely love the show. Oscar Isaac knocked it out of the park. He's one of my favorite actors of all time. He was fantastic in Star Wars. He's the only redeeming character in that whole in the whole sequel trilogy. So yeah, I really did enjoy this show a lot. But I still have there's no mention of a blip. There's no mention of Endgame stuff. And so until he crosses over in another show or another thing, I'm not saying oh, I don't want it to be MCU, but it's just there's nothing there to cross it over. There is absolutely nothing there to cross it into the MCU proper. So I'm okay with this being its own thing if that's what they want to do with it, because it was a very good show. But at the same time, I'm almost is it MCU? We don't know technically. And I think there is a quote out there from the director or one of the writers, maybe, I don't remember, saying that they thought that this show wasn't MCU proper, or maybe they said they wrote it so it wasn't MCU proper. They didn't have any crossover stuff. I don't know. But very good show, and I enjoyed it a lot.
What's up?
I think the show could have been a lot better. Oscar Isaac, don't get me wrong, fantastic. Acting performance is great. But it just felt like, okay, we'll throw a bit of Moon Knight in the end of every episode, and that kind of seemed the way it was. And I really wanted to see whole episodes of him being Moon Knight, being the Marvel Batman and doing all that shit, and just stopping bad guys and stuff like that. But it was all focused on a particular narrative of getting this statue of Alexander the Great and all of that shit, and then could have been a Kang reference, could have been an Apocalypse reference. I'm just saying they missed the bus there.
Real quick,
actually, there was one reference. It's Bast from Black Panther.
There is a Kang reference in there. I called it out during our reviews. On the back of one of the guys' shirt is a picture of Ramatut, who's a version of Kang who went back in time in Egypt and ruled Egypt. And I called it out back then because at that point, I don't know if any of you guys remember, but I also called out my theory that everything is Kang. And we're going to start seeing Kang in almost every property. Not everyone, but almost every property. And that was my prediction. And I want to call out that I was right, because that's really what they talked about. All of the rumors from San Diego Comic-Con is how many different roles Jonathan Majors is playing.
I'm just fed up of like these half-assed attempts of creating adult entertainment, because I had to change my fucking settings for this shit on my Disney Plus. And I'm thinking to myself, you telling me this is what I changed my settings for? I think episode 4 was the one where you had those like zombie mummies cutting people open and stuff like that was pretty cool, and it reached a horror element and it peaked. But overall, like, nothing Disney Plus has brought out, nothing makes me feel anything is remotely adult orientated, which is why I have no faith in Deadpool 3, which is why I have no faith in the Blade movie. You know, we've already seen what Kingpin's turned out to be. But regardless, I thought this show was supposed to be... I really had a lot of expectations for this show, and it just didn't deliver. It really didn't. And there was a lot of generic stuff in this as well, regarding some of the action scenes. And F. Murray Abraham was pretty cool in this show, and we always there's this thing with Marvel shows that the penultimate episode is almost like a flashback episode. We got it with this, we got it with Ms. Marvel, we got it with WandaVision. You know, so yeah, I don't know. I like this, and I was disappointed with this. It wasn't great. It was okay, good, decent watching. The twist at the end was interesting as well. We kind of saw that coming to a degree. I wanted to be a lot more darker, a lot more adult oriented. I just wish Disney would try to, stop making stuff which is for everybody. Fuck the kids. You make enough shit for the fucking children. Make stuff for me. Yeah, which they can't fucking watch. For fuck's sake, you can do it, Disney. Okay.
The last but not least is Ms. Marvel, which I'd had high hopes for because it was like an Asian superhero, but also a Muslim superhero, and that was the most interesting part, was the fact that she's a Muslim Asian superhero. The superhero part I could take or leave, because I don't know whether it's just that the villain was shit, because I think that you guys said it in the reviews you did of it, that you didn't know if it, but it was just something that just wasn't clicking about it, and I hate saying that because I loved the actress they got to play Kamala Khan. She was great, and I loved the family. Their interaction was great, and I loved the community, and I loved the sort of like the sense of how the thing is that there's this this character who's a female who wears a headdress because she wants to stand out, but people still look at her differently because she does stand out and she's doing to embrace the culture. And this whole conversation, but this is more interesting than the Kamala Khan, the superhero, which is not the way it should be. It should be as interesting, but it's not. And it was just really disappointing. Cheeto, what do you do? What do you think?
I this one was about above average for me. But I agree with a lot of what you said, like the Pakistani elements of this show. Kamala, a lot of that stuff was more interesting than the superhero stuff. They really lost me in episodes 3 and 4 when they started down the whole dimensional blah. Like, if you want to do all that, then get through this first series where she's just a ground level hero. Don't try to hand fist some dimensional bullshit in there. Like in the first season. Okay, if you want to do the dimensional bullshit, maybe wait till season 2 once you've established her as a hero and she's done cosmic things with Captain Marvel and them. And then we can be like, oh yeah, this is more of an or this is more natural, this is more fluidic. But it's like, you go from episode 1, 2, and 3, which she's just this homegrown girl in Jersey that just is, she's got all these issues going on, as well as she's got this bangle now. And then you're like, oh, by the way, this bangle has something to do with another dimension and aliens and everything like that. And yeah, you might be one of them because, you might also be a jit. It's like, wait, what? Like, I really feel like my neck snapped at the way the story took. So, and honestly, I loved episode 3. because episode 3 had nothing. I thought that we were going to go into like, oh, the universes were going to merge, like, in the last episode. No, they brought it right back into the ground level in the school and everything like that. I liked it. I liked the ending. They stuck the landing for me. But it's like, why was there this other bullshit in episode 3 and 4? Like, what? Or 4 and 5 or whatever it was. Like, why? Like, why? I don't understand it. The time travel stuff in it was okay. I mean, it was good to kind of. Okay, let me put it this way. It was good. I do enjoy learning about like the history and stuff like that of
the partition.
The partition and everything like that. I did enjoy that. I enjoyed learning about that and everything like that. So I give the time travel aspect of it a pass because I'm glad I learned that stuff. Like I was really into that. But then, as I said, the dimensional bullshit and everything like that. And there's like 4 different factions after him. One's trying to be either her friend, the other one pretended to be her friend and then wasn't her friend. And then you got the Department of Damage Control is their bullshit going on. And it's just like, in the long run, it's like, why wasn't Damage Control just the villain the whole time? If you want to add the what are they, the red daggers?
Oh, okay.
No, if you want to add the red daggers in there as like the good group, that helps her out, like stay away from the Department of Damage Control. But then you've got the Djinn, and it's like, as I said, I don't mind the Djinn being in there, but it's like, wait till season 2 to introduce them, and then make it some kind of like, oh, our universes are now going to merge, and and it was so, the middle was just so like it went good, like I can't explain it any better than that, how I felt about this show. But yeah, I definitely would rank it above average. As I said, 4 out of the 6 episodes I really enjoyed. So yeah, sorry. Whoever's next. I don't know who's next.
Okay. I was very much looking forward to this show simply because of representation. Now, I am not a Muslim, but I used to be one. I'm an ex-Muslim, and my religious belief, my non-religious beliefs is to do because I just don't believe in religion. But I don't think that all Muslim people are terrorists, which is sometimes a unfortunate thing that has been branded on a lot of Muslim people by naive people who don't know any better, who don't have interactions, who don't understand what it's like to be part of a multicultural community and maybe eating a curry or whatever. I mean, it's just like, there are lots of good Muslim people out there, and I'm very happy this show represented that. And I did expect this show to be a kiddie show to a degree, or kid appealing, which was Disney's ballpark. So I had no problem with that either, but I knew what I was getting myself into. Unfortunately, the villains were terrible. The day-to-day aspects of the show was great. Just her living at the culture and the life and all of that was way more interesting than the Marvel side of things. And when you've got terrible villains like the clandestines, not even that interesting allies like the Red Daggers, and then like the backup villains who are very generic in Damage Control, it just didn't make this show that appealing. I really wanted Sam Wilson as Captain America to be at Avengers Con. They needed to do something like that at Avengers Con. They needed an actual Avenger at fucking Avengers Con, whoever it may have been, but they needed that, and they didn't have that, and I felt the show was missing on that, and I mean, like, you're right, Cheeto. I wanted to see her do some more street level heroism. Like, she should have gone up against the tracksuit mafia at some point.
I thought of that, and I did. That was your idea before, and I didn't want to take it from you. I was like, but I agree, 100%.
Yeah, something along like, just stop them doing some villainy and stuff like that. And a couple of things, her being a mutant at the end was very shoehorned in, and not meeting Captain Marvel but swapping places with her was awful. Like, for fuck's sake, let her end it in the way people wanted. I didn't care if it was predictable. I really wanted to see Kamala Khan meet Carol Danvers, and we never saw that. And they missed a trick on that. Obviously, it's setting up Captain Marvel 2, but this is that moment in this show where they needed that. she was a fucking Captain Marvel fangirl, and she never got to meet her hero, and we really needed that for this show. It still could have been better. Representation was good. I did like some of the obvious facts regarding how Muslim people are treated in America or seen in America, which I very much appreciated, because I've been to your country and I know what it's like to be fucking racially profiled by your fucking custom agents when I land in your fucking country. So I very much know what all of that is about. But overall, an okay show. Should have been a lot better. But Iman Vellani, fantastic. Ms. Marvel, absolutely fantastic.
I think I said during our reviews that she's the Peter Parker, like what Peter Parker was in the comic books, like that young innocent kid, you know, like that she's the Peter Parker of the MCU because Peter Parker in the MCU was just thrown into it, an Avengers level thing in Civil War and everything like that. Kamala Khan, we actually got to see her from the ground up, you know, her discovering her powers, her, you know, getting to know them and everything like that. Spider-Man was just like, they just went and found him in Queens, you know, and he was already doing stuff. They just gave him a suit.
Yeah, but they didn't want to do another origin story with Spider-Man again. But at the same time, now you mentioned Peter Parker, you know, I think it's fundamental that at some point that we see Ms. Marvel and Spider-Man teaming up. You know what I mean? Cleaning up the streets because they're the similar age and all of that, you know. Yeah.
I feel like they might go down that route with Miles Morales when they go to that well.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
So Jake, what did you think?
Well, real quick, I don't think we're gonna get Miles for a while. I think
so
we're getting 3 more films with Holland, and probably towards the end of that is when we get Miles.
Yeah, I agree with you, but yeah,
but as far as the show goes, you know, it's like Zam was saying, the last one was something he thought was going to be very adult, and that they have too much content for kids. This is actually one of the things I was excited for this show, is that it is for kids. It's the first one that's PG and not PG-13, and as the father of a toddler, that kind of matters to me, because I haven't shown him any of the MCU yet. I'm waiting until he gets a little bit older and he understands the idea of punching someone. But with it being PG, I was a little more careful, or a little more open to the idea of letting him see it. So that was really important to me, to see something that I can start introducing him to. And, you know, as Zam was mentioning with representation, I love the idea that the first comic book character I'm going to introduce him to is someone who is Muslim, which is, you know, as Zam mentioned, too often the target of terrible racist ideas. And so to teach him a positive representation of that to be his first one, I think is a fantastic opportunity that I'm excited for as a parent who wants to raise a kid in a globalist world. So I like that. I really do. And, you know, again, going into the fact that they're kids, I think that, and this was in one of the post credits, or one of the interviews I saw, the Comic-Con is supposed to be just a bunch of kids putting together the first, like, rough one. But honestly, I don't think that whoever put that on has ever been to a real con in their life. And I was a little disappointed in that, because I'm a big con goer. I go to what's known as the Penny Arcade Expo every year, which is a big video game conference. I used to go to a lot of tabletop gaming conference. My girlfriend goes to Comic-Con. We're going to the Seattle Comic-Con here in a couple weekends. Look for me. And, you know, so I thought that wasn't really accurate to the con scenario, but I try to give it a pass because whatever, it's Marvel. You know, talking with some of the more serious elements of it, I really agree with what Cheeto was saying. She's got too many backstories. I mean, it's like, well, at first it's just a magic bangle. Well, then it's a magic bangle, but there's something about her. And then it's, well, there's something about you that allows the bangle to work with you that no one else has, because it doesn't matter who else wears those bangles. They're not getting superpowers. But then it's all of a sudden, what's her name can transfer her superpowers over. So maybe that does or doesn't. Oh, wait, no, actually, you're a mutant. That's what it is. I didn't like the constant shuffle. It was too busy, and I think the story would have just been better if they, like Cheeto said, stuck to one backstory, rode that out, and add some more complications into it next season. So that was definitely something I think they could have done better. You know, along with that, I hated the constant character flips. The like personality flips in this are crazy. Like, first episode, you get her walking in and she's this super awkward, and everyone thinks she's weird and no one really wants to talk to her. She's walking into the high school trying to wave at people. And then all of a sudden, the next episode, she's all like super confident in doing it. And like I get the idea that she's got superpowers gives her a confidence boost, but it's how the other people are responding to her as if it's not weird that she just flipped like that and all of a sudden she's cool. I thought was really terrible. And then you get the same thing when they come back from Pakistan, where they're like, oh yeah, you can be a superhero. I don't really care. You can go out and do whatever you want now because I trust you now because we shared a moment. But the thing is like if you look at the scenes in Pakistan, there is no growth between Kamala and her mother. There's no real growth there. So why does she have that character flip? And I think there's a lot of that in the show in general. I didn't like the time travel was fun. It's good. It's good to learn the backstory. As Cousin Cheeto mentioned, I'd never even heard of Partition. I knew absolutely nothing about it. So to learn about it, I think is really important. And going back to what I said before about this being for my kids and thinking about how my kids are going to watch this, I want them to learn about these hard things in history. And I think they did a good job at kind of showing that while disguising it as some entertainment. And so I think that was really good. Yeah, the last couple of things here, and I'll wrap it up. I know I'm getting a little long-winded on this one. Is the villains? They were all really lackluster, and everything just kind of fell into place. I'd have to say, in general, this show suffers from plot holes all over the place. Like no one knows who she is, and all of a sudden, like you get when she meets the red scarf people or whatever. The kid is all like, "Who are you? What are you doing here? Are you one of the clandestine?" And then all of a sudden his master's like, "No, I know exactly who you are, and here's your entire life story." And it's like, well, the master knows it. Shouldn't the apprentice at least have a clue about a little bit of it? Whatever. And then I'll just quickly end on the end credit scene. I didn't care if it was there or not. Like her transforming or switching places with Captain Marvel. I mean, it's a good selling tie-in to the Marvels, which is eventually coming out. So I get why they put it in there. I'm not upset with it. I'm not happy with it. It's just there. That's all.
Okay. Well, that's the end of all the MCU series. So we're going to take a break, and then we're going to come back with all the films that have been for the last 2 years.
Phase 4, basically.
Yeah, Phase 4. So we'll see you next time for that. Bye.
Bye.